You're now tuning into the sounds of the Potnas podcast.
Perspective on topics, news, and shit.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Potnas podcast, where we're delivering our perspective on topics, news, and shit. We are your hosts, the Potnas. Starting from the left end of the table, we got the Potnas first lady. She is Sam Bam.
Hey, y'all.
What up, Sam? Welcome back, boo.
I'm here.
Next to her is Mr. Put Your Money Up, Courtney Coleman, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, sir. What's up, fellas and lady?
Good, bro.
What was with the clinking? To his right is the flyest one in the room, Dino, a.k.a. the Dictionary.
You already know people.
And last but certainly not least, it is the most entertaining and electrifying partner of them all. You ain't never met a friend like me. I am Mr. Somebody Had to Say It. I am JT, a.k.a. also known as the Young Tizzle Live Thrizzle.
That's enough names, bro.
One more explosion. Boom! Clank, clank. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to kick things off with a very special thank you to our listeners. We started this podcast, partners, January 25th. Do y'all recall?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And
trivia.
we are now 12 episodes in.
It's crazy.
And halfway through season 2 with over 2,000 downloads
2,000, yes.
and over 1.1 thousand followers.
Yeah, man.
Hey, oh yeah, let's go ahead and get some applause going on that. This is a huge checkpoint and milestone to us. And, we're just getting started. We have so much more in store, and we don't intend to stop anytime soon. To the partners, what does this milestone and accomplishment mean to you all?
Turn up.
Whoa. Really, though?
Just straight up like that.
Enough
huh?
said. That's it.
I mean,
Where the champagne bottles at?
no, for real. We should have had some.
Yeah, we should have been prepared for this.
Hey, you don't know
I'm a
what
black
we-
bottle boy, so I probably would have been there.
We might have a bottle in the cabinet.
Look, no, they don't have pot.
It's chilled. It's chilled.
It comes from down from the ceiling with confetti and shit. But no, really, I mean, honestly, it just feels good. And I know that's cliche, but it feels good, like to be doing this with some of my favorite people, but also to one of the biggest things we were just talking about. When this thing was being conceived, it was really important for all of us to, be our authentic selves, but also to have a voice. That was something all of us said, like, yo, that's why the idea of doing podcasts was dope, because it gave us all voice and we could share our voice in different ways, and we're each ourselves, and we fit in the pocket all in different ways, like Power Rangers or Avengers or something. So that's super dope.
Yeah, exactly.
Name the Power Rangers.
Stop, because I know them all.
Look, he's trying to get redemption from last
Courtney don't even know the colors.
D'Angelo and
I'm not finna do this. But
He was naming the nigga turtles, remember?
Nigga Turtles.
I think the podcast has been not only everything that you just said, but I think it's been rewarding. And I think, honestly, y'all, like, I've learned a lot. Like, the people we've had on here, like, it's a lot of stuff we go through, and I'm like, man, I didn't even know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's dope to kind of like talk through different topics that you kind of come in thinking you know what you're going to talk about, but then
completely
you walk away with something like, man, I ain't even know that.
Real
So,
spirit.
Right. Yeah.
And that's, look, peek behind the curtain too, is to the listeners. Of course, we organize, look, Tizzle's on the team. There's no way we're not going to walk in here with an agenda. Okay.
Yeah.
But so we already know kind of what we're going to get into, but I'm telling you, every time it never fails. We always pivot and go in a direction that I could not have foreseen. And it's always rewarding after the fact. So I agree, bro.
Absolutely. Sam?
I just like seeing like the growth. I remember it just being like a random idea in a New Jersey base living, and it was like, okay, yeah, that'd be fun, like cool. Yeah. But then like seeing it come into fruition and like the success, and like it's inspired me to like be more communicative in like my everyday life. So
Yeah. I think
growth in all
growing.
aspects.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. Y'all want to go ahead and get into today's episode?
Let's get into it, kid.
All right, so today's episode, we're going to do things a little bit different. We often pride the podcast and ourselves on, being as authentic and transparent as possible, right? Ooh. And, today's episode will definitely be no different. But today's episode is called Embracing the Lows. And, you know, we live in a society where, you know, most people broadcast, you know, the positive highlights in their lives on Instagram and just social media in general, right? And on TV and television.
Media.
But we actually wanted to take this opportunity and this time to highlight a low point that happened to our Potnas family recently. March 19th, just like how we had mentioned on the first episode of season 2, March 19th was a very special day because that's when Sam and I, you know, purchased the land of our first home to be built. And shortly after that, we celebrated by getting Sam pregnant. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, you know,
you got reckless, bro. So you got
It's super reckless.
No,
like,
no, it's not
you've been
reckless.
approved.
Hey, Courtney
Reckless.
had,
Well, no, I mean, knowing him, that was part of the plan the whole time.
hey, the
I'm
pullout
sure.
game was strong, but
You
but you know, this is all part of
after that.
All right, friends. Calm down.
Yeah, and after that, the 4th of May comes around, and at this point, we're about a month and a half of being, you know, pregnant, and you know, we experienced a miscarriage, and this was a week before the second OBGYN appointment. And man, we were really like looking forward to it. The first appointment went so well, even though it was extremely early, but you know, nonetheless, it was just a very fulfilling event that we were going through. A huge milestone in our life. We had been looking forward to it. You know,
We were really excited for the second appointment because that was going to be the ultrasound appointment with like the heartbeat and the imaging.
Yeah. So, you know, we had taken photos. We told our circle of family and friends and even began planning the announcement to the world and actually started planning and constructing the gender reveal party. So kind of like going through, you know, the lows of that, right? After about a week and a half to 2 weeks later, the morning of May 16th, I was streaming church, you know, and one of the things that our pastor Keon Henderson from the Lighthouse Church, shout out to Pastor Henderson one time.
Everybody, shout out to him.
Shout out. We love him.
Nah, he's dope though. He's a really good pastor.
Yeah, he's my pastor first. I'm just saying.
I was streaming, you know, his message, and one of the things that, you know, really stood out to me was, you know, to give glory to God during the storms and the lows. Yeah. You know, because it's part of tradition in our nature, you know, to glorify him whenever we get our masters or whenever we graduate or whenever we get a car. Yeah, in the high moments, right? But we don't necessarily embrace him and publicize him during the storms and our low points because we deal with that in private, right? And after the sermon, I just so happened to look at the photos that Sam and I had took during the season 2 photo shoot. And traditionally, people tend to keep the lows private. I felt like that I wanted to break that tradition. And so at that point, I approached Sam after hearing, you know, the sermon and just having, you know, this initial thought. And at this point, you know, her body had recovered from the discharge. You know, we talked through it and she agreed because she was tired of just soaking in her sorrow, sadness, frustration, and disappointment. We agreed that we wanted to kind of talk through it with others, you know, in order to help our healing process. At that point, we approached Corin and Dino and they asked us several times if we were ready and prepared to talk about it to others and on this big platform that we have built. And we felt that it was right to do with our family. Like it started with us, you know, kind of like a Bad Boys movie, right? It started with us, you know, and we're going to go through it. Right. And so,
No, I mean,
you know,
I respect that.
So if y'all remember back to that meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago, we said that this is why we created the platform, why God blessed us, you know, with the means to have this platform, to expose our community to real and authentic events, discussions, and moments that could help others and all of our listeners to a better tomorrow, whether that's, you know, through the gems and takeaways, the life lessons and hysterical banter and back and forth and laughter and a lot, you know, so much more, right? This podcast serves as therapy for Sam and I, and I'm pretty sure I can speak for you two as well in saying that serves as therapy for you two as well. You know, we owe it to ourselves to be authentic as possible and to take it to the next level and being transparent with our listeners, our community of listeners. Like that's something very, very special. I feel like we want to grow to our listeners. We want to grow with you all. You all have helped us get to where we are in the podcast, and we hope that this helps somebody out there, you know, with the discussion that is about to be had. It's a goal of ours to normalize communication through our issues in those that we trust, especially about like issues of traumatic events. You know what I mean? And so at this time, I want to afford my beautiful, gorgeous, and courageous wife, Samantha, the opportunity to share her raw thoughts, experience, and emotions through this event. And Dino and Corn, you know, I want you two to provide your thoughts and your experience, sure. You know, through it all. Yeah, so we'll just go from there. So, Samantha. I know, right? You called me by my government name last episode, so I figured I'd return the favor.
You probably were doing something wrong.
Yeah,
but anyway.
it was. It was more of a disciplinary thing than anything, to be honest with you.
I think it's important, like, about this whole, like, miscarriage situation to highlight that, like, we're still healing. Like, we're not coming on here talking about, like, we survived. This is how we got through it. We're all good now. And, like, and now I'm going to give you the tools to be how you can come out of it too. Like, no, I'm still in it. And it's still very, very fresh. But, like, my husband said, like, this is, talking about it, I've discovered has become like a positive impact in my healing process. Because, when it first happened, we were kind of navigating, like, not really telling people. And, like, we're social people, like, in our families and with y'all, like, we were going around. I was like, when we had found out that one episode before, and we were like, okay, well, we can't tell them before because it's going to ruin the whole vibe of everything else. And I was like, but I also can't navigate in a secret.
Yeah.
Because, like,
you can't not be real.
And, like, we went to a family outing and, like, they were all, like, talking about it, but it was like a birthday, and, like, I don't want to, like, take away the joy of that moment with what I'm doing, but I'm also balancing with people like, okay, so when are you going to the next thing? You're so excited to set up the baby room in the new house, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
It's something you said that resonated with me. You said, so, and I mean, again, for the listeners, just to give a bit of perspective, we found out, you know, right after we finished the pod one day, and it kind of hit us, yo. And it was in a moment of, like, it was already a moment of I guess, emotional vulnerability, because we have been talking about mental health, and shout out to Saki, Brian. Yeah. And it's something he said, you know, we live our lives as people of color, as Black people, in costume oftentimes, right? And I remember after the pod, Sam was like, yo, that really resonated with me. Reason being, I feel like I've been living in a costume, and I feel like I can take it off right now. And she told us, and I was like, damn. And, you know, I appreciate you for sharing that in that moment, but it's something you just said. Even right now, you're around your family, you're around us before, and you had to put that costume on. I'm curious. I mean, there's an obvious answer, but then, I mean, like, not necessarily how did you feel in those moments, because I'm sure that didn't feel good, but what did you hold on to kind of push you through that? Because I would argue it's good for us, and I think we've learned it's probably better for us to let that out at some point in some capacity, right? Like, tears are healthy. But what did you hold on? How did you put? Because I've talked to Tisla about, he held on and pushed through for you, right? What was a point of strength for you in those moments?
I don't know. I feel like I wore the costume, so to say, so in honor of other people's feelings. Like, I knew how bad it made me feel, and I didn't want to project that onto other people. Yeah. And, like, we're always, like, solution focused in our mindset, and like, yeah, we have a problem, but now we're going to solve it. This is how we're going to solve it. And this is the one time that there's nothing we could have done to solve it. And so I was, like, still trying to navigate, like, okay, I'm going to go through this, and nobody, like, I'm going to be stronger on the end. I was waiting to tell them when I was better. Yeah. Because I didn't want, like, and I was still very emotionally vulnerable at the time. So if I mention it, like, I'm going to break down. Yeah. Like, because it's a loss. And even though it was early, like, it's still a very traumatic experience.
Yeah, it was tough, man, having to keep it a secret and kind of play along, you know, with entertaining other people's conversations, knowing, you know, that, you know, it wasn't a possibility at that time. It wasn't real.
And talk about it as if it was.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, in talking with others, like family and friends, like, just the excitement kept building and building, you know, after knowing for like 2 weeks and not being able to really, you know, share and tell anybody, especially in that moment, because there's other people around and everybody else is, like, excited.
Yeah, I think that's what was hard too, because I remember how excited everybody was when we told them that it was, and now we have to go back and retract it. Like,
yeah. And I think that's why people normally wait until the end of the first trimester to actually start telling people and revealing, you know, because at that point, you know, you may...
you made it past the most dangerous zone.
Right.
Yeah. We waited to the last day of that.
And you've, you know, at that point, you've also kind of, like, started showing at that point, maybe, possibly. You know, it's a very important milestone in the pregnancy process. I think we were just so excited. So much was happening for us, and our life was changing right before our eyes with the house and, conceiving and, with the podcast and, just being back here in Houston, being around family, and things were just going well. The vaccines were kind of rolling out and things were getting back to normal. So, I felt like that we, at that moment, wanted to share that, and enhance the happiness, so.
Yeah. I mean, y'all are naturally inclusive as a couple. Yeah. Like, y'all's JT's, engagement was a party. Like, you know what I mean? We planned a club party for an engagement, which was like,
it was a production.
For me, it was just
the
like
dance routine before. Yeah.
But so like, I feel like when I say that to say, like, for people who don't know JT as well, our friend group is like family, I feel like, to y'all. So I personally, when y'all surprised me with the, what was it, baby socks or something?
Yeah.
And I was like trying to internalize, why would they give me some baby socks?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're pregnant. But I almost like shared the same. It's almost like, man, that's my baby coming too. Like, it's like, it's weird. But so when things like that happen, it's almost like you don't, after the episode when we found out, you feel that, well, obviously you're not feeling the same, but you're also, you just don't know what to feel. Like, it's like, oh my God, like, and to y'all's point, I mean, I'm sure you told people, and it's tough to figure out, okay, well, how do I navigate this? Cause you have to be strong for yourself, but you also have to figure out what's the appropriate time to let people know, hey, by the way, stop asking me about.
There's never an appropriate time.
Honestly, I push back against that a little bit. I feel there is no there's I see what you mean, like logically, when do you do it? But there's no time. You do it when you want to, if you want to do it.
No,
you know what I mean?
I mean, so easier said. Like,
true enough.
You know what I mean? There's no perfect time, but we're all going to. Like, internalize
you have
it.
to say it
So
at some point.
So like a lot of people that we have told and that do know, like when they hear this podcast episode, like that's going to be when they find out,
Because not just something you like, let me call you up and tell you like I had a miscarriage. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And our apologies to those who we didn't get a chance to personally tell.
You don't got to apologize though, family.
Yeah,
I mean, I get what you're saying, and that's good, but
that ties into what Courtney was saying though, about how we've always been inclusive.
Sam was saying, because you mentioned, you saying like, but you mentioned how some of the pressures you felt was just like the fact that people were saying things like, when's your next appointment, or just something, and it's just like, that's an emotional weight, and it's like, you, to your point, that you don't like, this is y'all's,
you don't owe nobody anything.
You know what I'm saying?
I guess I've lived through enough bullshit, bro. You don't owe anybody anything. So to that, I also just add to that, because I don't want to blow past the feeling of when I first heard the news, because, Tizzle made a great point, yo. And that was one of the reasons we really wanted to kind of bring it out was, with their blessing was that, we often talk about the high. So just to talk about the high, when they told us,
well, let me explain like how we told it. Save that thought of like where you feel like about the high and the low.
No, that's Let me walk the high is that what we found out.
So the reason why we told Dino and Corin about it first, before we told anybody else in
and
our
Dr.
village.
Stuckey, he was there too.
No.
You're talking about when we
about
first
the
found out.
pregnancy?
About the pregnancy. So we had the season 2 photo shoot, and
Shots for
Sam and I had made the decision that we were going to start telling people, we're so forward thinking that we started thinking about like how we're going to tell the rest of our family, and we're like, well, we kind of like need like a venue in a sense, like we do things like really big.
It's kind of our thing.
That's our thing.
Yeah,
the engagement was big. The wedding was 250 plus and all that stuff. Right, and so like we've already laid out like this expectation, so we got to keep upholding that. The Dixons have a very gargantuan house, and we wanted to use that.
I love that.
As
ginormous mansion with got a rock climbing wall.
it's not a mansion, but it's a great hosting. It's a great hosting house, and so we were like, okay, we got to tell them. And so the photo shoot was coming up, and then Sam was like, how about we just tell them about the photo shoot? And I was like, yeah, and it was like a spur of the moment. Like we were already like an hour early, so we just went over to Walmart. Got some bags and some confetti paper and celebration fluff paper, and then
Spider-Man socks.
Yeah, Spider-Man socks. You know, because
Honestly,
Spider-Man and Toy Story
you could have
Aliens.
saved that part of the story because I thought y'all had this shit playing like a month. Like
No,
No, it was like last
It was
minute,
literally
like
real
the
last
day
minute.
of.
We knew we wanted to tell you, but we were like, man, what? And then the fact that Courtney was going to be there, that was going to be
I
perfect.
guess that's the lesson.
But we can make them think
so-
they're getting apparel.
resourcefulnul.
But-
see, and that's
what I thought
another
it
thing.
was,
I
yeah.
legit thought it was a t-shirt. I was like, okay, I guess we're gonna wear these. Like,
so,
let me go ahead.
to our listeners, like that too, right? So I always surprise all three, like Sam, Courtney, and
He
Dino.
keeps us on our toes.
I keep them on the toes by surprising them with just small but meaningful gifts.
Yes.
And so when the first episode of the podcast series, I surprised everybody with
The-
Potnas
with the
shirts,
black tees?
Yeah.
And
then shortly after that, I surprised them with the magnets, the
Yeah.
stickers,
Yeah, yeah,
advertisement, and whatnot.
So-
and then
So I don't get too tangent because you about to run through every gift you gave us.
yeah.
Shit.
No.
So that context is important because that sets the stage. When we got these gift bags, I didn't know that they had got them the day of. I thought this was some well thought out
Yeah.
shit like they usually do, and we finna get some cool merch. Yo,
You thought it was underwear.
I legit thought it was. I thought it was drawers because I knew it was too
Yeah.
light to be a shirt.
Some socks or something.
I was saying it was either socks or some drawers. I'm like,
Disclaimer:
both would be
Darian
gangster.
takes forever to open gifts.
And I did on purpose this time because but see, hold on, what made me rush was Courtney is opening his. He's like, "What'd you say? Oh shit, or some shit."
He's like, "Oh, were you serious?" I don't know.
No, I was looking at it. Like, how you get something and like you think it's one thing and you look at it and I was like,
Why
Then the light bulb went ding.
yeah, like mittens or some
But
shit.
whenever
Like,
it
what
went
is
ding is I wouldn't even through the toilet paper. I mean the tissue paper. And I'm like, wait, shit, I want to see it must be great. I'm thinking at this point still that it's socks or some drawers. And listen, I love a nice pair of underwear that's real fitted and nice and comfortable. So I would have been happy with some Potnas drawers. Yo,
Like I know your size draws or something.
That would have been weird.
no, fun fact. One of my friends, we'll say that for the relationship episode, but one of me and Jen's mutual female friends got me drawers for, I don't know, Christmas or something. But it wasn't weird or nothing. Like, I
She's
love
still a
them.
friend.
What?
That's still the homie. She's a good homie. But anyway, so I open these up thinking I'm finna get some new drawers, and it's these little baby socks, and I'm like, wait, what? And when it popped, bro, it's just like when it my eye almost popped, like the tears almost. Because listen, I have a baby girl, so I take this very, like we talk about marriage, I take this and I take parenthood very serious. It's a major blessing, and I don't take it for granted. So like when I was like, oh my God, they get to share in this joy, this blessing. I was so happy for them. And I was like, oh, like Courtney, I feel like it was my baby too. Like, oh shit, I'm getting this.
We having a baby.
You know what I mean? Shit, we pregnant. And so to have that to come off such a high in that moment, and we one of the people, I'm sure, when they come to the crib. Listen, Jen takes motherhood very seriously. She's very appreciative about it. So I know she's always, she may even text, she's that type. And so I know, like, to come from such a high, that's all we were on still when talking about it. My parents, hey, how they doing? How's Sam doing?
Yeah.
To the point now, and getting that news and the way I felt, in that moment, it was crazy. And I think divine timing, because when we found out, it was off of such a healing moment for me. I just talked about Chase, and we had talked about like a lot of our lows and a lot of shit we was dealing with. And so to hear such a low in that environment, I think it kind of softened it. You know what I mean? Like, I think had we heard it before, it would have been like a lot heavier for me, at least.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of both ends of the spectrum. Sharing in that joy was a privilege, but also sharing in that, I guess that pain. I teared up when you told me, and I just embrace y'all because it was for me a loss, a real tangible loss. And I think, I don't know if Tizzy, you remember I told you in the back room was like, you have to give yourself time to feel. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's and he was, he's a literal soldier, y'all. So he's trained to push through.
Yeah.
And so, but I was like, you have to be strong for Sam, be strong for, but you have to still give yourself time to process and feel.
Yeah. So let me share some insight on that, right? I usually know when I need to take that time, to kind of process like what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I'm going to break down, or I can anticipate
So you can
when
kind of feel
around
that.
time. You're right.
Yeah.
With this, and I don't want our listeners or anybody, listener for that matter, to, think that I'm this heartless guy when I say this, but this one felt different. Not necessarily because I anticipated it, but it had happened around us so often and so frequent, you know, through our friends and you know, and some of my family, you know, kind of going through that, experiencing miscarriage and loss and stillborns. I didn't necessarily become numb to it, but my body and mind and spirit just automatically went into being there for Sam and acting as her support system, you know, to carry her through. Because in my mind, if I put myself in her shoes, you know, and through miscarriage, you know, that's literally stuff leaving your body. It's like life, like leaving your body, and it's got to exit somehow, some way. Yeah. And she was going through that every time she had to, you know, have that moment in the restroom, and that was really tough for me to kind of like see her and feel for her going through that.
And you know, can I tell you something? I'm hearing you describe this. It's no different. The process would have been no different had the process continued. Right. Like you still would have to be there for her. Life leaving and life growing inside of you. I mean, it was always still going to be. So I mean, your role never really changed in a sense.
But the thing that was a significant distinction between this time and the other times, you know, the reason why I never broke down was just because I just knew I had faith in God, man. I just knew that he had us. He was like, look, like this is a setback, but look at it as an opportunity to, you know, not only grow from this or whatever, but maybe it's a preparing stage, you know, for y'all's future, you know, getting Sam's body conditioned and ready, you know, to deal with the pregnancy again. And then on top of that, maybe it's this is part of the story to make you all stronger. Because look at everything else that I put you through. You've made it here this far. Like, have I ever let you down before? You know, I know that this is what you want, but yo, it's always God's perfect timing.
So faith was a big part of it.
Absolutely.
I think your faith has helped me, like, more so like through the trajectory of the healing, but initially, no. Like for me, it's like something totally different. So when it happened to me, so what was, like, I can back you through the timeline of how it happened. So like I've learned the commonality of like how common this happens.
It's like
so
1 in 4 women?
1 in 4 women are likely to miscarry in their life. But also women who miscarry are not susceptible to miscarrying again as commonly as you think. So my doctor informed me that a woman who has never miscarried before has a higher chance of miscarrying before I miscarry again. Yeah. So like that was kind of like, okay, it makes me feel a little better, I guess.
There's some reprieve.
So what had happened was like, so I want to get real transparent because I feel like God has placed it on my heart to become like a figure or like a role model in some way. And I feel like this is part of my path to get there. Like, I don't think like I'm going to be an advocate for like lost women, but I think this is like a step towards like this goal that I foresee for myself. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to educate. So 1 in 4 women, like I said. So what happened was I was going along with my pregnancy, blah, 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 going to school, feel fine. I'm happy. I'm super excited. Maybe mentally trying to like remind myself that I am pregnant and like kind of forcing it a little too much only because I'm so excited. Like mentally like, oh yeah, I'm pregnant. Or like, oh yeah, oh my God, I'm so hungry because I'm pregnant. Like, I'm eating a lot more. My boobs hurt. Like all that kind of stuff. Like just like constantly reiterating me because I was still in shock at the fact that I was pregnant. Like I didn't think it was going to happen so soon for me. And so like, it was like more of a thing for me to like remind myself, like you are, like you got it. Like it's here finally. Like it's what you wanted. So like, if I was annoying, my bad, but not my bad at the same time. But like, so I had noticed like it's common in the beginning of your stages of pregnancy, like for women to spot like during it. And like that had happened to me like very lightly. And I was like, okay, let me just call my doctor just to make sure everything's good. And so I called her up. And it wasn't even like my doctor you talk to. Fun fact, when you call your doctor, you talk to like their assistant people before, and they know all your information if you've never met this person in your whole entire life. And I was like, how do you even know me? But I talked to her and she was like, well, yeah, we noticed like your HCG levels don't match up with the measurement of what we saw in your first appointment. So I was like, so why did it take me calling you for you to tell me that? And like, at this point now I'm angry. And then she was like, yeah, and the likelihood of you miscarrying is probably going to happen. And I felt like she was holding on to this information. And like, so now I'm like shocked because like I might be having a miscarriage. Like while I'm at work, it's all during my lunch break.
Wait, this on a phone call?
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
And then so like I'm in shock. And then I'm thinking that, and I'm like, and then I'm battling also anger because like if this was happening and you knew and you didn't tell me, like now like I'm holding it against you too. But we'll get to that. Like, I don't feel that anymore.
And they deal with this all the time with breaking the news.
Well, yeah,
down
she
to
said
people,
like she's
so.
seen that before too, but like sometimes women go on and be successful when it's nothing. So like they didn't want to say anything and like
that's
speak
tough.
something that wasn't
That's
going to
tough.
happen. But she was like, if you are going to miscarry, it's likely like you'll experience like more bleeding and cramping. But if it lasts longer than 6 hours, you need to go to the
Oh,
hospital.
she kind of walk you through what you
Yeah.
expect next. Oh, okay, well, yeah.
And so I like my teacher friend across the hall was like, "What's wrong?" And you know, somebody asked you, "Are you okay?" Like it's
That's
it's
the
done. So I started
worst
crying.
thing.
And then the next morning, I went to the restroom and I was like bleeding, and I was like, "It's happening." Like, but I was still in doubt because like it wasn't like wasn't getting like the cramping and stuff. And so I'm like talking to JT before I leave for work. I'm sitting here on the couch, and I was like, he's like, "Well, maybe you just shouldn't go to work." And like me, I'm like, I'm really big about like not missing work for whatever reason. And I was like, "No, I can't miss my day. I have to go. Maybe it'll help me keep my mind off of it. It's fine." And he was like, "Okay, whatever." And then I was like, "Okay, fine." Still emotional leaving the house. And like I get in the car and I felt it
Yeah.
like on my drive to work. And so I immediately went to the restroom and like just came a lot of stuff that started coming out. And I like started like bawling at school. And I walk up to my teacher friend, shout out Miss Haynes. And she was like, "Hey." And I just go up to her and I just put my head on her like a child. And I just started crying. And she was like, I had a whole episode in the middle of the hallway at work. None of my kids saw me. And
You
she
kept
just,
working? Like you stayed?
no, she made me go home because I was trying to keep
Yeah,
working.
shout out her.
She like called, she took my phone, she called JT and she was like, "You're not driving. He needs to come get you. Like, you need to go to the ER." Like, and I learned like a leadership skill also as well, because like my boss came out to the parking lot with me and sat in the parking lot and held my hand and like,
Wow.
until JT got there.
Nice.
And it's just traumatic to the point where like going to the restroom is still a little traumatic for me right now. And even though it's been a minute since it's like the gist of it happened, like miscarriages don't happen in a day and it's done. Like you're constantly, like it takes like a week or 2 weeks for everything to leave your body. So like I took a pregnancy test like 2 days ago because like that was doctor recommendation to get like 2 negative tests to make sure you're clear. And it's still positive.
Yeah, so you're still...
So it's still clearing out of like my body. And so...
But like that's a form of PTSD. Like when you mentioned going to the restroom still... Like,
not as bad,
I mean, not
but like I'm
diagnosed
still like,
PTSD, but like that's
my mind goes there.
trauma. That's literally trauma.
So like before Sam kind of shut my whole faith in God down, you know.
That's not what I was trying to do.
I know. I appreciate you sharing and being transparent through that whole process. But what I was ultimately trying to say and make a point about was just the fact that it had happened so often around us. You know, like I said, like with our friends and our family. I kind of mentally prepared ourselves to go through that just in case if we were to experience that, because it was happening so close. And it's one of those things that touches your intuition. Like, man, if everybody's kind of going through this, it might eventually happen to me.
I was like, it'll never happen to me.
See, that's kind of like...
But I feel like that's a setup, always believing like that'll never happen to me. Like I'll never get pulled over.
Like they probably did something for me and I'm not going to do that. Like it's...
But I'm just telling you, like, that's how I was processing things. All three of you know that I always put myself through all kinds of situations and scenarios in my head. Like, I just think about like, what do I need to do to make sure that we make it out alive in this scenario? Like, what if like we are, driving and then next thing you know, like a freaking volcano erupts and then we're rolling down a cliff and then all 4 of us are like hanging off an edge. How are we going to survive?
No, it's true. He tested me like when we're on roller coasters and they're stopped. He's like, "How would you get out of this roller coaster?"
Listen, I already know his scenarios. They're always the most extreme, no matter what. So what if we were scaling Mount Kilimanjaro and then Godzilla? But no, I'm curious, bro. Because we talking about faith, right? And it just brings me to think, so just sitting between the two of y'all, when I think about faith, and sometimes faith gets a bad rap because I've heard people say like, blind faith, you just gonna believe in something you can't feel, no understand logic. But I mean, like, I think to some degree, even, I think everyone has, what you call it is what you call it. But I think everyone has faith in something, right? And so whether it's in the Most High and a higher power, everyone has faith in something because you have to some point believe in something that is intangible to some degree. You can't see, you can see signs of happiness. You can see, the effects of wind, the effects of gravity, but you can't see any of those things, right? They're intangible things. So faith is something I think we all experience, and whatever you call it is what you call it. Yeah. But hearing you talk about faith is interesting because, like Sam, I kind of like the things I have faith in. I have to have full faith in them. I can't it's that saying like it's not gonna happen to me. To me that's not like set myself up. It's me having complete total faith that that's my destiny. Yeah. And so hearing you say like your faith is, I guess, in just knowing you're going to be brought through it. That I have that too, but it's just interesting. I think for us to think about faith in different ways is just that having faith in something so strong, believing so much in a process, in a higher power. I don't think that's necessarily setting yourself up. And I do think you have to kind of equip yourself for certain things. Maybe like I always say, plan for the worst, pray for the best.
Right. And that was, that's how I dealt with that is I always plan for the worst, and
when it comes for the best too.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Every day I was praying, like from the moment that we read that clear blue, pregnancy strip and it said that we were pregnant. I've been praying every day. Like it's part of my daily routine.
Figuratively too. I don't mean like to put you on like the spot.
I pray for that.
You better pray.
Look,
I mean more so like when you hoping to, like, do you have faith in the
absolutely.
In the
But like leading up to the actual confirmation that we had the miscarriage, like I just kept the faith. I always kept the faith and believed that the better outcome would prevail. Would prevail. But at the time, Sam wasn't necessarily her body was releasing fluids and discharging, and so at that moment she couldn't have the faith. So I had to be the faith for the whole entire household, and in that, like, keeping that secret. Go ahead, Sam.
But what I wanted to tie it back to, before I went back to the trajectory of the timeline, what I wanted to tie it back to faith was my faith was tested, but your progressiveness and you staying with it helped me pull me out of that. And that there was times where I was testing my faith, I was doubting it for a brief second, and I was like, why is this happening to me? How could you you knew I wanted this, but why did you take it away so quickly? There's people who, and I was comparing myself, I was there's people who don't even want babies and they just go off and have happy babies and they're not even planned, and we've done everything right, we're married, we got the house, blah blah blah, why me? And I was so that was really hard.
No, that's dangerous. That's a dangerous place to be.
It was so dangerous, and I recognized that. But seeing him and your strength, and you're look, and our conversations that I'm not going to get into detail on here because they were private conversations. Well, it made me realize why am I thinking like that? I don't even think like that, and that's not my nature in general. But I was so upset and so I don't even know the word but you pulled me out. And I do have my triggers still from time to time. Yesterday I was watching a show and they had announced that they were pregnant, a couple, and they did it. She was
watching Teen Mom.
Irregardless, the madness of the show, before you laugh, it triggered me because the couple had announced that they were pregnant to the family, and resembling the way that we did it, and seeing the celebration and the happiness. And I follow this girl on Instagram and seeing she's having a happy, healthy, successful pregnancy, and I'm just you
invested.
But what about me?
I didn't get that, and I'm not saying my time is not coming, because I full-heartedly agree, and we are going to try again. But I will navigate it differently, a lot differently though.
I believe that it will happen again, and that's why I kept the faith. It kind of alluded to that point where it was going to be confirmation that we had the miscarriage. I was okay, I know she's going to be stuck in the thick of it. Am I okay? All right, cool. I'm good. All right, let me talk to God.
That's important.
All right, cool. I'm good.
Don't run past
now,
that.
It's just like being in an aircraft, and they gave that safety brief. You're
put your mask on first.
Put your mask on first, because if you aren't good, you can't help nobody else.
You pass out, that baby's dead.
Right. Exactly. So that's my mind, and of course, paying homage to the military, right? They train us to kind of go through that and prepare ourselves for the worst, but always hope for the best. And that's what my mind kind of automatically did.
I think just do that.
I didn't do that. Military only helped.
I did it by myself.
The military enhanced my ability to handle those stressful and traumatic events when they occur. But I had always done that, naturally. I dealt with suicide within my family at a very young age, and so it was just part of like the process. I took everything that I put in my utility belt and experienced in my past, and then applied it, for not only myself, but for our village and for our family, and especially for Sam. I cherish this woman more than anything in the world. And, I just want to make sure that, she was good, and I was going to help her and hold her hand along the entire way. But Courtney, go ahead and show your point. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Nah, it's cool. I want to hear y'all's opinions anyway, but all I was going to kind of chime in and what it made me think of is how you guys have went through the steps pre this whole pregnancy. Like, you purchased a house.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all bought furniture for the baby. Like, the baby's room is damn near furnished.
No, it's
and
furnished.
it's not, the house not even built yet.
Let me tell you right now, it's furnished.
So
the furniture's in the other room.
Yeah. And what it made me think about was that y'all did everything right.
Yeah.
And like you said, when you talked about, I did everything right. I'm a good person. But what it makes me think of, and it's not even just this situation, but like even everything in life, a lot of times, and it sounds like this is something that people don't want to hear, but we have plans for ourselves, and we can be as to the T as we need to in these plans. We can be diligent, and we can be diligent in our faith.
That's good.
But if it's not in God's plan, it's like nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just literally nothing you can do. But I think
He laughs when we make
I was about to
it.
say, I heard that. It was so fucked up. My granny said, God laugh at your plans. I was like, damn, granny.
Miss Haynes told me that. Shout out Miss Haynes
That's
again.
very real.
no,
Very
it's real, and it's something that I've had different experiences, not anything like this, but I'm the type of person where I know, I want to do this, or I'm gonna prepare myself to do that. And it's when things go out of your control. I think the biggest lesson and what we're learning, what you guys are learning, what I'm learning from this is that the whole God put this on y'all's plate and in y'all's life for a reason. And I think we have to capture why. And then maybe it doesn't have to be anything some tangible all the time where it's like, this is the reason why. Okay, cool. Next time I'm not do this. It's not that. It's more so just like, I mean, you never know. Like, God could be slowing y'all down for something huge. Yeah. Like, or, whatever. I don't know. But, and y'all don't know.
And just pausing though.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to know the why.
Yeah.
In fact, I would even encourage you, don't lose yourself searching for the why.
Right.
Right.
It'll come. Like,
it'll come.
Yeah. You'll learn, you'll look back. It's, like you said,
right.
But I do think it's beautiful that you guys are able to be strong enough to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think you guys should also realize that you do have a strong supportive system. So whenever things like that come up, what I'm saying, I'd rather cry with y'all,
Big facts.
think about what, we could do as a family to get through stuff like this. So realize all the time, obviously you guys are going to internalize things. And like Dee said, something beautiful, because I need to hear stuff like that. Because for me, I try to X all my feelings out.
It's natural.
And then just move forward. But you got to give yourself time to just vibe through whatever it is that you're feeling. And it's okay. You know what I mean? It's all good. Like, it's okay to spend weeks. You're not dragging on. You don't owe nobody nothing. You don't owe nobody no explanation. But that's my only just quick takeaway. That's all I wanted to say.
That was probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard you say, Courtney.
Wow, bro.
We love you, Corn.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We really love you.
And like, I think it's very important to highlight like the strength and the support of like family and friends around us has also helped a lot too. So like we had some friends come down like after we shared the news with them, and they did so much. Like, we both got stuff out of each other from hanging out. Shout out to the Whites.
Hey,
but
the Whites. Cool.
like
The Whites.
Megan did something. Megaron. She did something so small, like trivial, that she would have thought like was for her, but it lifted so much weight off of me. And I don't think she's gonna hear it now, like how much she did for me doing this. So we had like that baby board where we were posting like the weekly updates of the size of the baby, and it was like we have like this what's that board called? Memo board, where we changed the letters. Yeah. And it's like Baby Tom. We bought it just for that occasion. We were so excited. It's like Baby Thomas. We designed it. It's however many weeks in the month, whatever. And then after the fact of the miscarriage, I just turned it around, and I couldn't get myself to go back and change it. Like, I couldn't touch it. Like, it just became like a non-factor. It blended into the wall for me. Yeah. And she turned it around, and she was like, "Hey, where are the letters for this?" And I was like, it stopped me. Like before they left, like we were about to go to Torchy's, and like before, and she was like, "Where are the letters to?" Like so casually, but I stopped and I was like, the letters to that. Yeah. And I was like, I went and got him. I didn't say nothing. And then she changed the memo on the board and then she didn't say anything. And she didn't like, oh, look what I did. She just kind of did it. And like, I walked by in the kitchen and I saw it and like the relief, just like,
wow,
like the
so
weight
dope,
that I knew I was going to have to change it at some point, like hurt. And she did it. And took that off of me.
How small of a thing that was.
Something so small. And like this, their positivity and like just the love. And like, I don't want people to like pity me or be like, deal with me like I'm dainty. Like I just need you to be you and be loved and supported and be happy and like just navigate how we are. Like I don't want to forget, and I also want you to be open to like if I do happen to feel comfortable to like share something about it, like accept it, and then let's move on.
Keep it moving.
Shout out to Megaron. For our listeners, Megaron is Megan and Cameron. And they combined their names
do they
to
accept this,
become a unit.
this new?
No,
it was their wedding thing. They have shirts, sweaters that say it.
Yeah, that was their hashtag. They got shirts. Yeah, we're not just.
No, it was their wedding thing. They made it.
But I do want to shed a little light about like the importance. There's been a couple of key takeaways from this episode, just naturally, right? All of this was organic, like. Discussion and authentic discussion, like just amongst our family, that we're sharing on our platform. But, I've said it a couple of times before and I can't emphasize or stress this enough on how important it is to just have a village, and a network of friends and family. We call them family. Our friends are our family. Like we take friendship very seriously in the household of Team Thomas, Dixon Dynasty and Colbin Clan. Oh, shit. You know what I mean?
Like a nickname.
Like, yeah.
First summer?
Oh no, those have been written down for like years.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah. Y'all will see why, I came up with that. But Pete, the point that I'm trying to make though is the fact that Cameron and Megan, like they live 5 hours away from us. And, when we shared the news with them, they dropped everything and they, went into like, hey, we're coming down. And at first, initial talking through it through our group text, we were just like, oh, okay, we know you'll probably have to, make a trip down here because they're from Houston too. Yeah. So we know that you'll probably, have to go see family and stuff, whatever. So just let us know what days. They're like, no, we're literally coming down there strictly for y'all. Yeah. We're coming there to be there for y'all. It was almost like it was non-negotiable. And,
we coming, make a man,
so, at that point we were like, well, cool. Like we had like a little itinerary and we had a remarkable, memorable
it was really
weekend.
Really
yeah. We even came and kicked it with the Dixons. You know what I'm saying?
We had Jewel a day.
Yeah,
Jewel kicked it.
And talking about lows, if you would just allow me the moment to kind of resonate right there, because it was so just in that weekend was another weekend of highs and lows. When y'all came through, but it was like a holiday, but it wasn't. Yeah. It was just a weekend, and they came through. I hadn't kicked it with Cam in a minute, and Megan's a beautiful soul. She's really dope. Jen really vibe with her too. Jess was in town, like she always is somehow, just always around. And it truly was like a it felt like 4th of July. Something just like everybody just came really to the crib, and we were just really kicking, had a great time, and just so much love in that weekend, kicking it with y'all, plugging in with everybody. One of my other best friends, Curse, got engaged that Saturday. I mean, just so much love, bro. Y'all got to watch Jewel, but then again, that was a low and a moment too. And it just really, I guess one thing I'm also taking away from this, is just that how, you really do have to, hold strong to your morals, and, you ain't got to call it faith, but you have to hold on to something because life will jank you in different directions. Right. It'll yank you up so fast. And amidst all that love, such a beautiful weekend, if you allow it to, can be taken away. One of my childhood best friends passed away that weekend, Maddie. And I went to his funeral. Hadn't seen his brother in over 20 years. Hadn't seen a lot of his family. But when I saw them, it was just love, bro. And it was like picking back up where we were. And it was just so bizarre, but at the same time, it was so beautiful. And to come back, picking Jewel up, come back here and just kind of being, back around love. I'm just saying, adding to the point of being, surround yourself with a solid village. I know people, I hold really strong. I keep my cipher small, first of all. So my friends are my family as well. But here in town, the only, blood kin I have down here is my mom's, my daughter, or just kin in general. You know, I have my father's down here. My stepfather Cedric raised me. My wife, and that's my family down here. My brothers, my stepbrother, all his family, that's family. But like truly, the reason my circle is so close is because I don't have a whole lot of kin immediately next to me. So, you know, I don't think there's even the excuse of, I don't say excuse. I don't want to set it up that way. But like, I think there's someone around everybody. And I would just encourage people, you know, to hold on to who's around you, you know.
And cultivate that. You know,
Yeah,
cultivate that.
It's a flower. You do have to water
Build
it
those
too.
relationships. Yeah, water those relationships. You know, make sure you're, you know, enabling them to bloom. You know, I tell Sam and harp on this on her all the time, and I'm like, hey, it's important to, you know, make those robust connections with your friends. You know, because at some point you're gonna need to rely on them.
Or just
You know, you're
appreciate
gonna-
who's
yeah,
there, you know.
and appreciate
Appreciate who was around you, yo.
and their presence and the connectivity that you have, you know, the likeliness and like Megan and Cameron coming down, like Sam realized how much, I mean, you want to kind of expound upon that? Like how much you realize how much you're connected to her and are related to her?
I think it's so funny because like me and Megan actually went to the same high school, like, but we didn't like hang out like that. We always like knew of each
I didn't know
other.
that.
We knew she's a year above me. Like we knew of each other. We seen each other. We knew who each other were, but we were in different cliques. And then we all went to UT, and like we were hanging out, dappling with different groups that weren't the group for us, and like
We were
whatever.
in
Then
each
we
other's
slowly,
weddings.
then we eventually go and like marry Kappas, like in the same fraternity. And
I didn't know that. I didn't know y'all went to the same high school.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Just
And
like,
in each other's
we went to the same high
weddings.
school. I didn't
you
know him.
We went to each other's weddings. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like they've
We all
always
went to the
been
same
there.
high
It's
school.
it's just crazy how like God feeds people into your life. Like
Yeah.
they were there for every single thing, but like we didn't capitalize on like what that
Yeah,
friendship was.
yeah.
Like we didn't even know. And like that's what I realized. Like a lot of my friendships, my closest friendships that I consider close friends now, weren't initial. They were always there,
Yeah.
but they weren't like
It's
what I
crazy,
considered
though.
core to me. I was still fighting for relationships that weren't being reciprocated.
I remember
Or
those days.
and I was like, remember I would have conversations
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
being like, why am I the only person putting so much effort? Like,
Why
doesn't that
do
my
I-
friend?
Yeah.
Like
That's one thing I always hear from Sam.
you're my friend, but I'm not your friend. Like,
Or
I'm
it
always
feel-
the one to
it'll
reach
feel like
out.
it.
I was like,
Yeah.
and it's frustrating. So like, check on your friends. Like, be a good friend. Like, if you value somebody as a person, like, talk to them, reach out to them. Like, don't use the excuse of the cop. Like, I just don't know when you're busy. Like,
Or
that's
like I
not an
say,
excuse to me.
Show appreciation, because I know there's some people who dealing with stuff who may have habitually been dealing with stuff and just don't have. I know this time. I'll be honest. If you listening, I mean, it's just it's just the truth, my nigga. Sometimes somebody ring my jack and I look at it like, fuck, I just don't have it in me to talk right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hey,
I
that's
can't.
me every day.
I know. Sometimes I just try to
Trying to date
text,
them
but
fast.
Jonathan's the opposite. He's like, he'll call. Like,
Oh,
oh,
no, I'm old school. Give me mine. I need to talk. But no, like I think that's just another point too. You know, just you. It's not even so much like, because I think I do believe relationships are two-way streets. You do have to give. If
Right.
If
Absolutely.
you're gonna take, you
Absolutely.
have to give. But what that give looks like is different for everybody.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean calling them every day to check on them. You ain't gotta call me, my nigga. But I do need to. It does feel good to know that you're there. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And whatever that looks like, that's cool.
Just show me some sense of care.
If you're a friend of mine,
something.
like that's why I say you never met a friend like me. You ain't never had a friend like me, because when I say I'm that, what there means to me, I'm all up in there. Like I'm,
But you ain't gotta do all that, y'all. I'm just letting you know.
no. You
But
ain't-
that's
you
how he
ain't got
gives
to,
his
but-
love.
But that's how I
Yeah, he
give
gets
like
deep
like
pause.
that. Yeah, I mean, like I provide. You know, I'm not saying that like I'm gonna call AAA and all of that. You know, like all of that.
but
and
you
whatnot. I
are,
will,
Jonathan.
but-
You will. Like,
yeah,
don't.
I love hard, and you know my relationships are so strong. I invest a lot into my relationships, and people always ask me like, "Man, how do you know so many people? Like, you know everybody," and that's just because like it just kind of happened like that, and I just invest a lot in my relationships, and I'm just naturally a social, you know, butterfly and an
That's
extrovert.
also very true.
But you said something, D, that I don't necessarily completely agree with, but I understand that like why people do it. They go through different experiences and into the reason why they keep their ciphers slim and small. I am not going to necessarily like advise against that, but I just want to, the point that I was trying to make with cultivate your village is the point that just acknowledge and realize that we all go through things, and nobody can deny that. We all go through things, highs and lows. But when you go through those things, who are you going to be able to rely on and whatnot, because you can't make it through this world on your like solo dolo. And you can't also, I'm gonna address something that I've been wanting to address for a long time. So Mr. Somebody had to say it. I can't deal with the people that say I move in silence. Yo,
You like that?
If you move in silence.
if you move in silence, why am I seeing it on your story? You know,
Real cheese move in silence.
you know, like
I think it's played out. I don't think anyone's
it's
moving
played
in
out.
silence. Social media.
You're not moving in
And
silence
it's
if you're
not-
telling people. You're
and
moving in
it's-
silence.
right? And it's not factual,
Rappers telling on themselves.
and it's promoting an idea that if you don't tell anybody anything, then you'll be good. You know, no, that's not okay. It's all it ties into.
But
the
it is
communica-
okay to move in silence. Do you think it's not okay to move in silence?
Look,
If you're moving like okay,
I see
if
so
we didn't
many
have a pod
quotables.
and Courtney was still doing this thing, buying these properties and kicking ass, but we didn't have a pod, and he just told his circle.
I get on Courtney all the time. Like, hey, why aren't you telling anybody this? Like you got gems that you're going through and that you're reaping the benefits off of. Give it back. You don't have to give it broadcast it to the whole world, but like, you know, people that are looking forward to getting into the real estate like pocket, like share that wealth. We as black people have been wanting that, and we, you know, the nature of our society and our community is crabs in a bucket. That is all, or crabs in a barrel.
Yeah,
We're always.
I'm a big proponent of you.
Right, exactly. So why
Spread
move in
the
silence?
knowledge.
Why keep that bottled up into yourself? Like, what joy do you get out of that? And celebrating the victories in the stadium, it's about you celebrated in the stadium for a reason, to have everybody there to celebrate with you.
Yeah, I think what we got to realize too, like, we live in a social society where it seems like Instagram's the platform of sharing. And for me, I'm gonna agree with you, JT. I just personally, I'm more of a personable person. So if you really care to know about something, like, hit me, bro. I've sat on the phone with people for 3 hours. I've met with people at Starbucks. I spent a whole day.
But how can
people,
they hit you? But how can they hit you if you like you said earlier, like, people hit you up and call you and stuff, and you're like, man, I'm not in the mood to talk.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, it's just the truth.
And that's okay.
But look, let me explain though, because but there's beauty in learning to do something and being well at it and understanding, like, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing that. For me, I have a lot going on, so I never have the time to like I never feel inclined to let me record what I'm doing here and post it. Like, for me, I tend to lock in, and I'm locked in.
That's the last thought.
So when it comes to like sharing stuff, it means more to you than it means to me, to be honest, because I just don't care. Like, it's not a big deal for me.
Right. And that's by no means, I'm not telling you on how to broadcast it. I'm just saying, give it, like, you owe it to somebody out there.
And people get it. You just can't see
It
it.
has to be through Instagram.
I do agree
It
with
does
that,
not-
though.
Right.
I believe when you're blessed with a gift or a passion or a purpose, it's a sin against nature to not share that in some capacity.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
it's being shared. I'm an open book for anybody.
Yeah.
It could be a random. It could be John 345. It send me a DM. Be like, I'll probably chatting with anybody.
And
But
look, I know some people are gonna probably judge us on, like, man, like that's real bold of them to be sharing, like, the fact that they went through a miscarriage and whatnot. That's probably why they shouldn't have shared that information in like month and a half being in the pregnancy in the first place. You know what I mean? And look, I'm not gonna say fuck you to the haters. You know, but no, because look, because I don't want to communicate that message. That's not how I feel, honestly. Like, if anything, like, I appreciate it because that's how they feel, but they don't have all the evidence and the contextual information, right? This is us giving everybody that contextual information. And it's not, we're trying to, you know, get promoted and boost the podcast. Like I said before, therapeutic for us, and it's healing for us. And that's why God blessed us with this podcast in the first place, and why we have over 2,000 downloads and 1.1 thousand and counting followers, because it's all part of the plan. It's all part of his plan. And, you know, that's what we're going to do, is carry that out.
And if my experience is helping somebody else, like, that's what I'm all about. So, like, let's have a let's have a conversation. If, like, I'm opening up to you, like, it makes it more common. Like, seeing somebody that you know, like, I feel like I'm a very common person. Like, if she approachable, and like, because if me seeing it, like, I would want somebody to go to it. I want to be that person for somebody, and if I am, then I am. And like, by doing this, that's. Like I said, it's like, it's that path that I'm going towards that I feel like is in my trajectory. And this is like a stepping stone for me to get there.
No, I think that's real. And I mean, just to kind of bring it home, one thing that we all said is, well, two things real quick. I want to address something you said earlier. about like my cipher. When I say my cipher, I'm talking about my immediate circle. I do keep my immediate circle small, but not all of my immediate circle is my family, yo. So like if you've made it into there, congratulations. I call you family. You're not a friend to me. You're family. But every friend for me is not family. So I can have 1 million friends. I can go out and see about 20 niggas and dap them all up. I love you, bro. And I'll have genuine love for you, but you're not my family. You're not in my immediate circle. So we think of these as concentric circles as a, like we have bands, there's levels to this. So not everybody's in my immediate cipher. So that's the one thing I admit there. I agree. Networking is probably the single most important thing that I've come to learn on this journey of mine. Grow your network, people. Like who you know, it can take you places. Don Tizzle said it last time. Dante, formerly known as.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to say is one thing we've all said is that we're all really big on is sharing. Like this platform is a means. It's our way of sharing. One of our ways of sharing. You're not gonna catch me on the gram all the time. I will be more active. Shout out to follow me on the dictionary. But to Courtney's point, like I too am more personable. Like I would much rather sit down with you, kick it, give you what I know in that way than to I'm gonna be honest, in the hop into Discord and run you game or to go back and forth in my DMs. Hit my line. Let's hop on a Zoom call. I've had so many damn Google Meets with just different people, nonprofits, just giving them game on branding and on marketing just because I can. And this is the homie. So I think, it's important. And let that be another takeaway is, when you are blessed with something, don't hoard it. Don't hoard it. Share it in some capacity. I'm not saying you got to go out there and be the next guru, but I think it's our duty.
And my ask is just, imagine if you were the person seeking, solace or advice, or anything of that nature. You're just in a search for something. And you remember in that moment how you wish you just had the opportunity to be connected to somebody to be able who was willing, first and foremost, and able to provide you those gems or just that substance or service or product or whatever that may be, right? Yeah. I would like to challenge our listeners and you all at the table. I just challenge anybody. I accept. It's just to make sure that, when you get that phone call, you just never know. Like if you don't answer it, you don't know like what the message or the conversation, how it's going to go.
No, I answer.
And look, and sometimes, man, like that, like
sometimes I gotta call you back.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And sometimes it doesn't go the way that you envisioned it, but that's okay. Because what it does do is make the relationship that much better. Now that person knows like, oh man, like Sam didn't really have to answer the phone and hear me banter and talk, and vent, but like that really meant a lot. And now like she's going to be like my go-to, and I know Courtney always calls me, whatever, and I never answer the phone or whatever, but that really means a lot. And I know that I never call him, but golly, like, I'm going to do better. And I might be bowing up a actual gift to present him.
Bro. Is gift, that's one of your love languages?
No. I'm just speaking hypothetically.
You be doing
well, because Sam had brought up the point of like how she's the one always reaching out to her friends. And they never, reciprocated back. I think that's going to change after they hear this episode.
Oh my gosh, you're talking about me?
But at the same time,
sorry, I need to be better.
Yeah,
I'm gonna call you,
I
girl.
just told Sam, I'm like, hey, it's okay. Don't change. Like that's going to happen because I was feeling some type of way when I was, on this side of the world. I'm like, how come nobody hit me up?
Oh, I remember
but it's because everybody was going through COVID. And everybody's in a different season.
Yeah.
And I learned a very valuable lesson. And I praise God for making me realize that because sometimes we don't get it. Sometimes people lose their life before they actually, that moment hits them.
I remember that. But that's isolating too, because you're on the other side of the world. And I can imagine how like you're in a literal bubble and you don't get those other, I get, one thing I would just add to that I'm hearing too is, yes, be a light, be there for your people. Relationships are two ways, but you got to take care of yourself first, G. You got to make sure you're good before you can make sure anybody else is good. So,
and ironically, that like this discussion occurred, and like once again, God's plan, right? It occurred in May during what? Mental Health Awareness Month. Exactly. So to our listeners, hey, we appreciate y'all. To the partners, y'all have any final remarks or final thoughts?
Let's toast.
Let's toast.
Yeah.
All right.
The Emperor.
So this toast,
What are we toasting to, guys?
So
I'll take these lines.
what are we toasting to? So I think we're gonna keep it simple today, y'all. We're toasting y'all first and foremost for, just having the courage to share that story. When y'all, when we kind of talked about it, I remember the feeling of just like, man, are y'all sure? And just how concerned Courtney and I were with y'all's healing and y'all's process. So just a toast to y'all, toast to this process, toast to y'all embracing it, to having the faith, to looking forward and knowing that, you're good. You're going to be in the position that, you're going to be in. And shouts to y'all strength too, because this isn't, I'm sure this wasn't easy. I'm sure it still isn't easy. And, just toast the family,
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Love you guys.
Courtney, you not going to say nothing?
He buttoned it up. I don't know if y'all want me to.
Boo. You're not rough nose.
Courtney hungry. Yeah. And love y'all. Appreciate it. And that is all that we have for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. So at this time, we would like to ask you all to follow us on all social platforms, starting from the left end of the table. Where's your Instagram?
At She Is Sambam. Hit me up.
Corn Pop.
Courtney J. Coleman.
All right. Dino?
You can follow your boy Dino at the dictionary. That's THE_DIXONARY.
And I am at JT Got Soul. That is JT Got SOLE. Follow us at Potnas Podcast. That is POTNAS Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
Y'all go check out our website at www.potnas, that's POTNAS podcast.com.
Courtney?
And for any inquiries that y'all have, make sure y'all send us an email at contact@potnaspodcast.com.
All right. Hey, thank y'all listeners. Once again, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Peace.
Peace.
And blessings.
You're now tuning into the sounds of the Potnas Podcast, bitch. It's the Potnas Podcast. It's the Potnas Podcast, you bitch. You know what I'm saying?